What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about the used car market update. Now, quite a few things have changed, and there's something that's really unique. The new car prices are actually affecting the used car prices. Now, a year ago, we talked about this, and people thought it was absolutely insane to even think about this, but we're finally here. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of why that is. Now, unfortunately, my studio is not ready. I'm filming from my living room, but we will have the studio up soon, and it's going to be completely different from my old one. Also, we're going to be starting a second channel called Lucky Lopez Live, where we're going to be able to chat live with you guys. If you want to ask me car questions, bill questions, finance questions, pretty much everything. And we're going to do some behind the scenes stuff and shop tours and all that other fun stuff. So stay tuned. Their link may be in the description, not sure yet, but we'll find out here shortly. Now, how are new car prices actually affecting used cars? So let's go ahead and get into how new car prices are actually affecting used car prices. Now, it's no secret that demand is simply not there anymore. A lot of Americans don't have that extra disposable income, and so we're watching new cars inventory starting to pile up, and they're simply not selling. So what are dealers doing about this? A lot of manufacturers are offering major incentives to hopefully lower the price to get people to buy it. The highest one I've seen, I think, was like a $20,000 on a Dodge pickup truck, which is the highest. I've seen other ones for 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever they can do to get money off the actual price so people can afford to either buy it or finance it. And that's what brings us into the next thing that's putting a lot of pressure on used cars is the actual financing of new cars. Now, OEMs have captive financing that they use to be very aggressive when it comes to basically getting a customer on a new car. So if you want to buy a brand new Toyota Camry, they'll give you a really low rate, but you got to use their captive lender, but they got to sell it to you for full retail. So a lot of banks are going out of their way to give people, remember we talked about how the 84 months disappeared? It's coming back. I've seen some banks talk about bringing 96-month financing back because people can't afford the payments. And we're going to get into payments here in a little bit. But now these banks are offering all these like lower interest, higher term loans to get people into these newer cars. Now here's the big question. If you can go out and buy a brand new car for the same payment of a used car, why would you do that? And that's the thing we keep running into, and that's what's helping putting the pressure on used car prices going down, especially when it comes to leasing options. Now, if you're looking for an EV, there are so many ridiculous leasing offers for EVs out there. It's crazy. I know Tesla was offering, I think, a new Model Y for $695 or something like that, and there's a few other companies offering $300 Kia. I think it was a Kia EV6. So there's some crazy leases out there if you're willing to look for it, because they know that these cars are just simply not moving. You can go to any manufacturer, even Tesla, drive up to any lot, and you will see tons of new and used EVs just sitting there. So they're trying to get creative with financing to move these units. But let's go back to the main thing, the main elephant in the room, which is payments. Unfortunately, majority of Americans don't really care about price. They care about the payment. I hate to say this. I'm sure some of you guys watching this are probably like, what are you talking about? It's always about the price. A lot of people, all they care about is, can I afford this monthly payment? So the way they're getting around these crazy prices, these inflated prices of new and used cars, is by trying to just make you focus on just the payment itself, if we can extend terms. Now, they will only do this on new cars, but on used cars, they can't do that. So guess what's happening? Now the banks are really cranking down on used cars. So as we move forward, you're going to start to see more reduction in pricing. Now we talk about this every month. There's a lot of pricing going down. I see it every single week at the auction. You can look at Car Gurus, average days on market. You can look at different trends. There's literally so much data out there. I don't even have to, I'll put some screenshots up just to show you guys of how the market's trending down. Because every time I see the market's trending down, there's 30 people in my comment section like, what are you talking about? Cars are still expensive. I'm going to tell you a little secret. A dealer will always put a very high advertised price because that's probably what they bought it for. So their whole goal is to put it up for, let's say, $40,000. You can go in and offer them $35,000. It's not going to hurt you or kill you. So if you're looking at getting a car, especially a used one, negotiate. Get on Car Gurus. Look for the car that's been there the longest. Don't look for one that's been there last week or this month. Find the one that's been sitting around that lot for 6 months, or it's about to have a birthday, it's been there for 1 year. That's the one you be aggressive on, because if they're going to take a loss, they're going to take a loss on that vehicle to move it out to get some fresh inventory. And this is what we're seeing the market completely change. I remember a month ago, people were screaming they couldn't find certain deals. I literally look every single day at Facebook Marketplace, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, Auto Tempest, and there are so many deals under book actually out there for retail compared to actual financing, which is crazy. So cars that I'm seeing at the auction tend to go for more than what people are selling them for on the streets. I know it sounds insane. Everybody wants to get their dealer's license and go buy cars. They think they're getting them at deep discounts, but they're not. There's a lot of deals out there. You just have to go look for them. But these are the trends we're starting to see, especially when it comes to luxury SUVs and cars. That market has been the hardest to be hit. A lot of banks are starting to change their books. They don't want to lend big money on those cars because the depreciation is so rapid. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what's currently going on with the book situation, because this is the most interesting and I think people will really want to know about this. Now, I'm going to do a full video about this a little bit later, but I want to give you guys what's currently going on. Now, back in the day, Kelley Blue Book, if you're on the West Coast, NADA if you're in the middle, or on the East Coast, you probably use Black Book. Every region uses different books as well as different banks and different vendors. And this is how we all figure out what the car is worth and what we could either sell it, buy it, or lend on it. And these are how we determine these numbers. Now, traditionally, these books used to come out once a quarter, so the numbers would change very little. But now they're coming out monthly. And then just a few years ago, now they're coming out weekly. So week by week, we're getting updates of how far prices are dropping. And that's why you still see a lot of dealers with high prices. So the car they bought 2 months ago may have been worth $16,000. Today, it's worth maybe $14,500. And they could tell you that wholesale on it is what banks will lend on it is maybe $12,000. So unless that customer comes at least $2,000 down plus sales tax, they're not going to be able to finance that car. And the rapidly changing book, I think, is what's affecting the market the quickest. I just left NIADA, which is an independent dealer auction, and there was a lot of bankers there. And as we were talking, discussing the market, a lot of them had some very interesting things to say about how the market is fluctuating so quickly. A lot of the buyers or underwriters that write these auto loans are very scared because they get judged on what they buy a car for. Now, if you buy a car today for $10,000 and next week it's worth $6,000, who do you blame? Do you blame the book? Do you blame the dealer? Do you blame the underwriter? Who's the person to blame? And this is the problem that they're having now. There's a lot of cars, especially, I don't want to say the names of the banks, but a lot of them don't want to touch EVs at all. They used to love buying Teslas because they always got their money back when they repoed them. Now they're literally giving them away at auction because they have to fight with Hertz to get rid of these cars along with all the other EVs that are being traded in or repoed. So these are some of the trends that we're starting to see. And now that we see so much fluctuation in the actual books, it's scaring not only dealers, but bankers as well. Now, I'm sure this is going to trickle down to consumers because Cox Automotive actually controls Auto Trader and Kelley Blue Book. So I'm sure theirs are always going to be matching. But when you go to buy a car, I highly recommend using multiple sites to figure out the value of your car because, you know, some of the things we're seeing in the market, especially with new cars, with dropping prices and offering incentives, all that does is if you could buy a brand new Dodge Ram for cheaper than you could buy one that you bought last year, it just kills your resale value. And now that affects your book. When Tesla dropped its price 4 times, what did it do? It screwed everybody the last 10 years that bought a Tesla. It all affects the book. And I've never seen the book play more in a role of deciding whether a car gets bought, sold, or even funded than what I'm seeing now. I've actually talked to a few dealers just to confirm that deals they sent in on a Friday when the new book came out that Monday, they had to get a bigger down payment from the customers because it moved that much. That's how scared these banks are when it comes to buying. Now remember, banks always try to offset their risk, whether they charge the bank or the dealer a bigger fee to buy it, or they charge the customer a higher interest rate, shorter term, or a bigger down payment. Those are all the things that will help the bank feel secure if they buy your auto loan. But if the book is changing every week, what are we supposed to do? Now, there is one trend that I'm seeing continually going forward is cheap cars are going up in value. Anything under 10K, I see it trending upwards. A lot of the cars that we bought, that we took to auction, everything under 10K sold for full price. I didn't even have to argue. There was no buybacks. They all went over when it was going through the lane. All my cars that were over 15,000 bucks, a lot of them got to basically a couple $100 under what we were asking. I just let them go because I could see that market starting to trend. I even bought a few Teslas that were wrecked from Hertz just to clean up and run through here at Mannheim. And we got some pretty good numbers for them, but obviously they weren't as great as what I thought they would be. So I'm just glad we broke even. I'm gonna let those cars go. But unlike most dealers, I don't mind making a few $100 or even breaking even just to get rid of them. 99% of dealers are told to keep this, you can't replace it, and every month they keep it, they store or they accrue fees. A lot of the cars that I buy, I use cash, so this way if I let it go, it doesn't cost me anything. I can use that money to buy something else, which is called opportunity cost. None of these banks or dealers do this because they're always using lines of credit. So they'll buy a car, hold on it for 6 months, not realizing that every month it's costing them $250 in holding fees, interest, and everything else from their flooring companies. And this is what basically gets all these dealers in a pickle, and they start going bankrupt. I'm sure if you look in a lot of areas, all these smaller independent dealers are starting to go out. All the ones that like kind of popped up out of nowhere that were selling $20,000, $30,000 cars, those are the ones that are going to be hit the hardest, the quickest. You're going to see a lot of these guys start to fade out if they don't transition to what the market's demanding, which is cheap, affordable cars. On top of that, a lot of these dealers learned that all you need is one bank and you could sell these cars. Unless you have multiple banks that are buying prime, subprime, and deep subprime loans, you are SOL. I was shocked when I went to NADA and there were so many independent dealers from all across the United States that only had 1 to 4 banks. That's it. I had 27 banks at our peak, and we wanted to make sure that we had a bank for every single person, because every bank will buy certain amounts of, let's say, Kelley Blue Book wholesale value, certain miles, certain years, certain makes, certain models. All those things factor into how the bank lends. And if you don't have multiple banks, you're pretty much screwed. And now that these people that have 4 or 5 banks, like I said, the book is moving so fast when it comes to vehicle values, a lot of the banks don't want to take that risk. So if they only have 1 or 2, they can only shop it to those banks. After that, they're screwed. So don't be surprised if you see more dealers starting to fail in the next 90 days. But my advice to you, if you're a consumer looking to get a car, be patient. There are tons of deals out there. Just because the car is overpriced does not mean that you can make a decent offer. Go in there. I always like to go in person, say, look, I know you want this car for $40,000. I'm going to give you $35,000. I have a check from my credit union, or I'm pre-approved, whatever you want to do. I'm a serious buyer. Let's make a deal. If it works out, fantastic. If they tell you no, go somewhere else. Don't sweat over it. Don't cry. Don't be like, oh, I can't get a good deal. Go out of your area. I tell a lot of people, I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. I have never bought a car here because all the dealers here smoke crack and they want full retail. They know that people won't travel 2 hours outside of town to Phoenix or LA to buy something else. I would rather fly to Miami like I did with my R8 and these other cars and drive them back here and save thousands upon thousands of dollars than to pay over retail. I think my R8, the dealer over here wanted $10,000 or $20,000 over MSRP. I got my car in Davie, Florida under MSRP, and all I did was fly there, or drove my car there, drove back. I think cost me maybe 3 days and $2 grand, and I saved about $10,000, $15,000 I think overall. Actually, no, more than that with sales tax and the overall maybe $20-something thousand. But don't be afraid to go out of your comfort area to find a good deal. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you guys think of the current state of the market. Are you shopping for a car? What are you seeing in your local area? And please share in the comment section below, because there are lots of people still looking for cars. Some people have been patiently waiting, and I know they can't wait anymore, but like I said, the deals are coming and you're gonna start to see them trickle in very soon. But anyways, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like this video. I truly appreciate it. I'm sorry I kind of ghosted. Like I said, building this new shop and studio has been crazy. I'm just trying to get something really cool set up here in Vegas. So hopefully eventually we can have like get-togethers and meetups where people can fly into Vegas. We can teach you how to run books on cars, how to diagnose cars, how to do financing, you run your rental car business, all that other fun stuff. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next video.